1 week till Christmas, 1 week till Christmas, 1 week till Christmas. Are you freaking out yet? Are you? Are you totally freaking out yet? Because I know that I used to be. The week of Christmas break, oh my God, and all the kids. It's insanity. It's insanity. Your kids come home from school, and all of a sudden they're going to be home for the next week and a half, and or longer. Like, maybe you already started your Christmas break Friday. I know that some people, it goes all the way until the 2nd. Some people's kids aren't even going back to school until the 7th. So how many of you have kids that are going to be home from school? Leave a comment if you've got kids that are Christmas break is here, winter break is coming. You know that in the next few days you're about to have 12 to 14 days straight of your children, right? I remember these days. I remember that it was summer break was absolute hell, because that's 3 months when you're with your kids nonstop. But then winter break is the miniature hell in the middle of the year, where you're just oh my God, why couldn't your teachers just keep you until Christmas Eve and take you back on the day after Christmas? This is so stupid. Did you ever stop and ask yourself why? Did you ever stop and ask yourself why I can't hang out with my own children? Why can I not stand being around the creation that I created? Why do I absolutely dread the days that they don't have school? Why am I always there's literally a song this time of year, and Mom and Dad can't wait till school can start again, right? Literally. And that song was made in the 60s. So what is it? Tell me, if you're watching this live stream or catching the replay, tell me, what is it about this time of year that you cannot wait for your kids to go back to school? They're not even out yet and you're already ready. Or like I said, maybe you're ready to cancel Christmas. How many of you have canceled Christmas before? I've totally canceled Christmas before. Didn't actually cancel Christmas, but threatened to, and took down the tree and took all the presents and told them that Christmas was canceled. How many of you have done that? Answer there. Give me a heart. Comment. I would love some engagement from those of you who are watching. Who has canceled Christmas? Or who threatens to cancel Christmas? If you have canceled Christmas, let me know if you followed through. Did you actually cancel Christmas, or on Christmas Day was all the presents out? And if you haven't actually, how often have you threatened that you were going to cancel Christmas? And the last one is, just over it. You're just completely over this whole thing. You're threatening Santa's watching. That's the other one, right? Who has an elf on the shelf, okay? I have an elf on the shelf. He's not Santa's spy. We talk about the book and they read the book and whatever, but our elf is around to actually teach us about different holidays. My children, we celebrate all of the holidays. We tell all of the stories from around the world of the winter solstice and where they all came from. How Saint Nick's really just Santa Claus. We have a whole story about who Saint Nicholas was, this bishop in Turkey. And you've postponed Christmas? Tell me about that. What did you do? Did you you postponed it because your kids weren't listening, or you postponed it because you just couldn't afford it? Because those are two different things. Postponing Christmas, that, Epiphany, there's the 12th day of Christmas, right? In the French tradition, Christmas starts on Christmas Day, and then the 12 days go until January 5th, which is the day that the wise men actually showed up and gave baby Jesus the gifts. So there's this, the wise men didn't appear on the day he was born. I know that a lot of us get confused about that because of the nativity scene, and the wise men are usually there, but Jesus was 12 days old when the wise men finally showed up, because they saw the star and then had to walk all the way. So you canceled Christmas before, you put the tree away, you've said Santa's watching, you're constantly doing that. Okay, that was a huge one for me. This year is probably actually the first year that I haven't used that phrase once. Last year I tried to be better about it, but previous years, my oldest, he grew up with that. He definitely grew up with, ooh, are, oh, you're throwing flour around the house when we're making Christmas cookies, Santa's watching. Or, oh, you pushed your brother over when we were ice skating, Santa's watching. Like, who does that? Give me like some laughing faces if you're someone who has totally like threatened the Santa card, like pulled the Santa card, even if you don't usually like do, you just like automatically because that's what your parents did to you. Or how many people's parents did it to them? I really like answer, like, how many of you remember like being traumatized by the Santa thing because you were like, oh my god, he's watching me and I'm gonna mess up, and if I mess up then I don't get my Barbie doll, right? So we do that this time of year. This time of year it's constantly full of that. You want your kids to be better because you're spending all this money on them and you're buying all the gifts, and maybe you said you were going to have a handmade Christmas, but that still didn't turn out, or they wrote their letter to Santa and there's just something that you told them like months ago that you would get them for Christmas that they remember but you don't remember. Like, my son wants a Nintendo Switch. He's not getting a Nintendo Switch, but that's what he like wrote in his letter to Santa Claus. There's just, you as the adult are like, you ungrateful kids, you don't understand the stress we're going through, and I've spent this money and we're not going to even make the mortgage payment this month. We're going to have to make a double payment next month or catch up when we get our tax return. Like, how many of you have done Christmas on credit? I've definitely done that before, and just like waited until tax season and got my taxes like done and turned in as fast as possible. My sister actually got coal one year. Your sister got actual coal one year? That is fucking awesome. Wow. Props to your parents. Dang. I've given my kids chocolate coal before just to like mess with them and like hidden the presents, but didn't actually like do the whole coal thing. That's intense. So like, how does that make you feel? When, as the mom, here's a question for you. As a mom, how do you feel when you are having to do that, when you just threaten that you're going to cancel Christmas because your kids are not listening? They're running all over the house, they're shaking the Christmas packages, they found your stash, and you're freaking out because, oh my god, they know what they're going to get now that can't be from Santa because it's from me, and blah blah blah, right? How many of you have freaked out for that reason before? Because I surely have. I've definitely like gone berserk because they found the Christmas present stash and I didn't know how much of it they saw, and I was already like completely like done shopping for Christmas and went and like returned some gifts and got something completely different so that I could still say that it was from Santa. Okay, I'm sure that a lot of people do that. We have changed up our Santa Claus talk, and we always kind of tried to make it obvious that that it's a story, but we haven't come clean completely about it all. I thought that this year was going to be the year that my oldest was ready for that, and he wasn't, and next year he gets to be Santa. But, we're at this year. This year, I haven't threatened to cancel Christmas even once. I'm homeschooling now, so I don't have a Christmas break. I don't get to send my kids back away, and that was a choice for me to spend time with my child all the time, because I learned a lot about the public education system, and I learned a lot about where we're sending our kids all day long, and it didn't align with my own personal values. So I'm no longer welcoming anything in that doesn't align with my own value. I don't yell at my kids anymore. I don't. I absolutely do not yell at my kids anymore at all for any reason, because when you yell at your children, it lights up the same part of their brain as their pain receptors. So if you're yelling, you might as well be hitting them because their brain is responding to it in the exact same way. Neuroscience scan shows us that the brain lights up in the same area when a child's getting yelled at. They also can't hear you. They are way more interested in the fact that you're yelling or than what it is that you're yelling about. And they're also in fight or flight mode, so they don't even hear you. It's like wah 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 wah, and you're just screaming. They really can't hear you. They are in fight or flight, freeze or faint mode. Like, they're either trying to figure out how to run away, they're trying to figure out how to stay really still, maybe you won't yell at them, they're trying to figure out if they're going to faint because they're so terrified that they're just going to shut down, or fight, flight, freeze, or faint. Yeah. So are they going to stand there and take it and just like fight you and start screaming back at you? Are they going to try to run away from you? Are they going to just freeze and like act like a statue and not know what to do? Or are they going to like completely faint and pass out because they're just so overwhelmed that their body like shuts down? That's what happens when you yell at your children. That is what happens every time you yell at your kids. So if you're wondering why yelling at your kids isn't getting you any result, it's because on a basic neurological level, when you yell, you're activating their fight or flight mode and causing them pain. The same amount of pain as if you were to smack them with a belt or with a bendy slipper or whatever a wooden spoon. That was like the weapon of choice when I was growing up. It was the 90s. We didn't know so much back then. My kids never believed in Santa. Yeah, and that's fine. I'm not saying that you have to believe in Santa, but have you threatened to cancel Christmas before? Like, whether it was because of Santa or not, like, your kids don't know about Santa, okay, or they don't believe in Santa. So then they just know that all the Christmas gifts come from you. Have you threatened to cancel Christmas before because of that? Have you been like, fuck this, I'm just going to take all these gifts back because that way I'm not starting the new year in debt? And these kids are so ungrateful anyway? Or the letdown that you can physically see on their face? Like, in previous years, I would have probably, like, done 10 massages to be able to make the money to be able to pay for the Nintendo Switch because it was the only thing on my kids' Christmas list, and I didn't know that, and I've already bought the Christmas presents for this year. And I don't want to buy them a Nintendo Switch. We have a Wii U that is perfectly usable, and I bought replacement controllers for that instead. But I would have felt really guilty that the one thing on his list wasn't there, and I would have been anxious and like worrying about, oh man, am I ruining his Christmas? Am I like, he's gonna be so let down. He's gonna be so. Yes, wooden spoon. My dad broke them over our bedposts. See, yeah, wooden spoons. That was totally my dad's thing. I got him smacked on my bottom as I was running down the stairs. He broke a couple, I think, on the banister, actually. But, see? And so we know better now. We know not to hit our kids. We understand that. I've never had to threaten my kids. They're pretty good. Okay, so what about going back to school? Are you excited for them to go back to school? Are you, like, ready for that? Like, by the time Christmas break ends, are you just, like, so ready for them to go back to school that you are, like I said, Mom and Dad can't wait for school to start again. There's like literally a Christmas song about it. So I'm wondering how many moms out there actually feel that way. Like they're actually ready for school to start again. 90s kid. Yeah, total 90s kid. Yes. I mean, I'm kind of showing my age, but I'm not that old, so it's all good. But, you know, it's one of these things where, like, why my mom got new spoons every year for Christmas. That is amazing. I mean, it's not amazing because, like, that means your dad broke a lot of spoons, but, like, oh my god, that is so funny. So funny. Because now we know better. We don't really have to yell at our kids. But what are other things, Rachel, that you do for punishment? I'm sure that your kids aren't good all the time. So if you don't yell and you don't threaten, what is it that you do for your disciplinary actions? Like, are you that mom that's ready for school to start again? Or when they head back to school, are you kind of sad that... Yeah, see, we're right there. I'm 30, so I totally get you. You know, how many, you get to this point where you're like, oh my god, Christmas is over. So let's think about that. Think about the week between Christmas and New Year's that all the kids have off of school, right? They're no longer excited about Christmas. They've completely thrashed your house with all of their new toys. They're still not ready. Timeout. Okay, timeout is what you use. I'm going to get there in a second. So, no, we'll go there now. Timeout is what you use. So timeout actually causes isolation in a child. So they will think about when you are upset. Remove the toys or whatever the distraction is. Okay, so I used to do this too. And then I started thinking about it from my point of view, like how I would feel if someone treated me the way that I treat my children. So if I'm really upset and overwhelmed and freaking out and like can't handle, like around the holidays when I'm having people over for dinner, let's say, because you guys saw my live, maybe you caught it earlier last or the end of last week, that my house was a total catastrophe and I had people coming over. In previous years, that would have sent me into a total downfall. I would have been crying like a sobbing mess on the floor, totally freaking out. And if my husband said, go to timeout, like go to your room, you need to calm down, and when you're ready to talk to me like a civilized human being, you can come back out of my room, I probably would have decked him across the face. So then you wonder why your toddler wants to hit you on your way while you're like dragging them down the hallway to timeout or pulling out the timeout chair, whatever it is. You're still telling them that their feelings and their reaction, their emotions that are bubbling, whether that's anger or sadness or whatever it is, that those feelings aren't acceptable for you and that they can go away and handle it. And when they can handle it, then they can come back outside and talk to you as a calm. So you're telling a kid who's completely distraught and doesn't have any idea how to control their emotions to go figure it out by themselves, and you shut them in the room and you just are like, oh, when you're ready to calm down, come on out and we'll talk about it. And then you start talking to them as an adult, even though they're little kids. So a lot of the times we try to teach, or we try to treat our children like they're miniature adults, and yet we would never treat an adult the way that we treat our children. If your best friend came to you sobbing and crying because she accidentally put her wedding ring down the disposal and now the diamonds are all chipped off, and at least she was able to get it out, but it's this like tangled mess, and you were so upset, or she was so upset, you wouldn't be like, well, you shouldn't have broken your ring, should you? Why don't you go ahead and go into your room and think about what you did? Would you? Would you tell your best friend she did it herself, she's the one who dropped her wedding ring down and turned the disposal on, there was no one else to blame, just like when your kid breaks their brand new Christmas present and you go tell them, well, that's too bad, go cry about it in your room, or that's too bad, it's going in the trash. I venture to guess that if you were to actually sit down and think about the way that you treat your children when they're not behaving the way you expect them to, you would never, ever, ever accept someone treating you that same way. So if we expect our children to act like miniature adults all the time, then why is it that we treat them like they're second-class citizens constantly? It depends on the situation. So you're not just sending them in for 10 minutes to cry by themselves. And I understand that. I'm just saying that timeout is one of these things that we wouldn't do to adults. So why do we do it to our kids? Especially when I never talk to my kids that way. You never talk to your kids in what way? That they, so then why are they going in timeout? If you're having conversations with your children about their emotions, then why are they going into timeout? That seems like a disconnect. Doesn't seem like a very, useful way to deal with the situation, to send them away. To take away the toys, yeah, maybe you're trying to say that you remove the toys and whatever the distraction is, so maybe you're doing more of a connect redirect thing, but you're calling it something else, which is really like, that's what we all really want to do, right? And I've been doing it more and more with myself even, or with my husband, but with my kids, I'm able to get down on the level, get into their eyesight. Okay, I'm really sorry that you broke your toy. Let's go color. And like, it's really that fast and really that easy to just like help them to like calm down. Okay, baby, I know that this is broken. I know you were so excited. I know that you didn't want this brand new toy from Christmas to break. With that attitude. Okay. See, so you're good. So you don't actually really put your kids in timeout. You might have them go calm down, which I would suggest you just kind of see, like, what are you doing? Are you really sending them in time? Because timeout is isolation. Timeout really has that concept of like, go into your room by yourself, or go sit in the corner with your nose to the wall, or like an isolated thing. It sounds to me like you have more what I call a time in, where you're separating them, but you're still like not isolating them, and you're still talking to them and trying to get them through, and then you redirect them to the next activity. I would then ask you, how much does it bother you, like what they did? How much are you still thinking about their action previously? Because a lot of moms aren't able actually to move on. And as soon as the husband comes home, they're like, oh my God, you will never guess what little Johnny did today. And you've just like held on to all of this stuff that even though you like didn't have your kids, you tried to like put on a happy face for your kids. By the time your husband gets home, you're like, I have to unload everything that happened today or I'm going to just fucking blow up. That used to be me too. I didn't realize how many times me telling my husband how the kids acting out actually affected him. He felt like a failure. He felt like he wasn't able to provide. Yes, that's more like it. See, perfect, Rachel. You got this. You professional mom. I wish that more moms knew how to do that, because lots of moms don't. Lots of moms are probably like, oh, I had no idea that yelling at my kids fired the neurons in their brains that's the same as me smacking them. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't know that if I put my kid into timeout that I'm isolating them and causing them to have major trust issues for the rest of their life. Because most people haven't spent hundreds of hours reading parenting books or really listening to their intuition, being able to connect. A lot of people aren't able to see that they are acting exactly the way that your dad used to. Because that's what I'm going to guess, Rachel. You probably had one of these conversations with yourself where you're like, I don't want to act like my parents. So we promote the good that happened the day. See, beautiful. Beautiful. I love all of this. It's gorgeous. So then I venture to ask you, what is it, Rachel, since you're still with me, what is it about the holidays that drives you nuts, or do you love them? Are you just like, are you already the queen of the holidays and you're not stressed out at all? Because that's cool. It feels really nice, right? It feels really good to be that person. I'm loving it this year to finally be the mom that's not stressed out, that spent way less than I normally do, that I'm happy with what we have. Like the baby, the 18-month-old, she literally has a box of clothes that were too big for her that I opened, and then I just wrapped all of those. So I didn't even spend anything, and she's 18 months old. She's going to have more fun opening the presents anyway than any of the gifts, like the toys that would have actually been there, right? And I went down to the thrift store and found some like wooden toys, and that was like it. Like she was easy. The boys were pretty easy too. My toddler wanted a kitchen set and he got that, and then there were a few toys from his birthday back in March that I found completely still in their cellophane that I'm rewrapping. Oh, you love them. See? Well, at least thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me. The rest of you take note from Rachel because she's doing it right. So then I venture to ask those of you who are watching the replay, the rest of you who watch this, how often are you just overwhelmed in general? Yes, and she will love the box. Exactly, and she'll have fun like eating the wrapping paper. So if you aren't like me and Rachel, if you aren't able to laugh about the fact that your dad used to hit you with a wooden spoon and absolutely love the holidays and not want your kids to go back to school, then reach out, because this is what I'm an expert in. This is what I do. I help women, moms, go from angry, stretched out, the Grinch, to loving Christmas, being able to have fun with their kids, focus on the good at the day, have an amazing relationship with their husband, and just really love the life of being mom. Like, you chose being a mom. So one point or another, within this time, you chose being a mom. With the miracles of modern Western medicine, whether you're pro-abortion or not, it was still an option for you, and therefore you chose to be a mom. So are you going to choose to be a mom who just doesn't want to be like her parents but doesn't really know what to do? Or are you going to choose to be a mom who's just like your parents because fuck it, you ended up having to spend thousands on therapy, it's really not that big a deal, and you got better things to do than reading parenting books? Or are you going to choose that you're the mom that loves spending time with her kids, is able to connect with them when they're upset, able to help them through their emotions, doesn't have to yell at them, doesn't have drama when you're disciplining them, that you're teaching in every single moment of being a parent instead of, oh, not again, or, oh, why can't you guys just get along, or, oh, blah, 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 right? What kind of parent do you want to be? It's almost 2019. Do you want to continue parenting the way that you've been parenting, or are you ready for a change? Do you want to continue being the mom that nobody really wants to be around, that they don't come have play dates with you because you're screaming at their kids. It makes them uncomfortable when secretly they're also screaming at their kids, but they would never do it in front of you. Like, figure it out. You are a mom. You chose this role. So why did you choose it? And how do you like your job so far? And if you're one of those people that counts the days until Christmas break ends, if you're one of these people that dreads summer break, if you're one of these people that's like, only 12 more years until they're in college, we need to talk. Because that's not, if you chose this job, then you should at least love your job. You should at least wake up every morning, think, what are some fun new ways I can teach my kids to be badass humans and world citizens so that they can help change the world? Because it's not adults that are changing the world, people. Like, I really wish that I could tell you it was, and there are some really cool adults. But if you go and look at anybody that's done anything really big recently, it's been these teenagers, these like 13-year-olds. Some 13-year-old is the one who invented that garbage sucker that's like floating through the ocean right now. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's this little robot that they made that's sucking up all of the debris that's killing our ocean life. That was a teenager who did that. You guys hear me talk about Malala Yousafzai. She was a teenager who got shot point blank in the face and still has been going. Relaxation and deep breathing helps. Yeah, but for how long? That's a management tool, Francis. You're telling me a management tool. You're managing your stress by relaxing and taking deep breaths, and you're not actually changing anything except for maybe your kid sees that you take deep breaths. And that's really good, because I do that too. If I'm about to freak out, I actually take a physical step back and take 3 really deep breaths. But then do I still hold on to it later? Do I still remember when my husband gets home that this is what happened, and then I immediately want to tell him about it because it feels better for me to get it off my chest? Or do I just like internalize it, and then later I just like lose it when I forget to take my deep breaths? Because that used to be something that I did at the very beginning when I first realized that I didn't want to parent the way that I was, but I didn't really know how I wanted to parent differently. I did a lot of management tools, but I didn't actually change anything. I didn't change anything within myself to be able to get to that level. So the relaxation and deep breaths are really good, but what can you do to not have to do those anymore? It's a very rare occasion that I have to step back and take a deep breath. I think the last time it happened, I went downstairs to their playroom and they like covered their like slime that isn't supposed to be in the playroom, and it was like on a bunch of stuff, like my couches and stuff like that. And I definitely had to take a couple of steps back and take a deep breath. But that's very few and far between now, when it used to be my primary tool. And before that primary tool, my primary tool was yelling. So yes, you can take and put different tools into your toolbox, but eventually it's going to be overflowing and you're not going to really know which tool to really grab and reach for. And then you're just in the same, and you're going to go back onto autopilot. You're going to go back to the original tool, which is the yelling and the timeout, because that's what our parents used for us. So if you're one of those people that, again, you're ready for Christmas to be over already, it hasn't even started, or you're totally dreading that week between Christmas and New Year's that your kids are going to be home, the house is going to be a mess, they're not going to like the toys that they had, they're going to have thrown the toy over here, and then they're still not going to be willing to get rid of the toys that they haven't played with in 40 years because all of a sudden they're going into the box. Are you having to sneak around and take those toys away because you're afraid of the drama it's going to cause if you try to take it away, instead of having the conversation with them like, these are old toys, I have noticed you haven't played with them in months, there are children on the street right now this Christmas, these toys, like, it doesn't have to be an agreement. They don't have to agree with you that you're doing it. You can still do it. You are the parent. But are you sneaking around with a box in the middle of the night and doing it and hopefully they don't notice it? Or are you having the actual conversation as to why you're getting rid of the old toys? A lot of parents are really fucking sneaky and deceitful. Very deceitful. And then you wonder why your kids are lying to you and why they're always getting caught in tall tales and things like that. Because you're not honest with them either. Or you hide all of your emotions. You take 3 deep breaths, but then you go scream in a pillow later, and they never see that part, so they think you never get mad. So then whenever they get mad, they feel ashamed that they're mad, because mad isn't something that we show in our house. Or with crying and little boys, like, come on, toughen up, little boy, or these things that we don't want to show the weakness for some reason. We don't want to appear weak in front of our own children, so we have our management tools and then we go freak out, but they never see it. So when they're freaking out in front of us, we're like triggering all this shame in them because they've never seen us act this way, so they must be doing something wrong if they are acting that way, right? There are so many little tiny things that we do every day that are patterning our children to just be you. Have you noticed that you sound like your mom? I've noticed it. I sound like my dad too. That's kind of, things like that are kind of what started turning my brain on. Like, I spent thousands of dollars in therapy. Do I want my kids to spend thousands of dollars in therapy because I decided it was just too hard to change? Or do I want to, as the adult, invest in myself and learn what I need to do to break the cycle? Okay, it was pretty easy to decide that I wasn't going to hit my kids because we knew everything about the neuroscience, or not the neuroscience, but we knew how detrimental it was to hit your children. Yelling, that's something new that a lot of people don't know. I might have just broke your brain apart earlier when I told you that yelling is the same as smacking your children. You're more than welcome to go verify it because there's tons of neuroscience studies that back me up. But what you really need to realize is that if you match any of the descriptions up here, if you're that mom that has canceled Christmas and is just ready to cancel it again, if you're that mom that threatens that Santa's watching you, and you're that mom that can't wait for winter break to be over, like, you and I, we need to talk, because that's not what it should feel like. You chose to be a mom, so let's find a way for you to love it no matter what time of year it is, no matter what day of the year it is, no matter what time of day it is. Whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're with a screaming, teething toddler, or it's 9 o'clock at night and you're dealing with an upset 10-year-old who has a project due the next day, like, you can do this with no drama. You can do this in a fun way that builds connection, and you can do it in a way that you become a superhero and set up the next generation to save the world, because right now, the rest of us are doing a pretty shit job of that. The planet isn't even supposed to survive till 2030. So let's take responsibility ourselves for the job that we signed up for as mothers and do something about all the parts of your life that you really don't want, but you have no idea how to fix. I promise you I have a way, because that's what I do. I help moms love their life and realize that they're already living their happily ever after, even if it looks nothing like they thought it was when they were a 7-year-old girl. So, love you all. Thanks so much for watching this beautiful Monday. I'm going to go get my toddler ready for preschool and the baby ready for her nap, and then maybe wrap some Christmas presents. So, have a great day. Love you.